to the cloud. Okay, hello and welcome, and apologies for last class. I'm really sorry I couldn't make it. I was trying to pull it through and just couldn't see, was nauseous. It was a disaster. So sorry I missed that. And so as a result, tonight was going to be a really short class. But I'm going to try to cover everything that we missed last time over the next two classes. Doesn't mean that it'll be super long, but it's going to be full because I'm going to try to hit what we were doing last class because it's important, and then start with today's work. So we are going back to week 4 right now. And talk about persuasive writing. We left off with some descriptive writing. We're going to do a little bit. I'm going to cut out some of the duplicate type work that seems like we can move forward. So we will go ahead and do most of this stuff and have maybe 2 assignments tonight if we can get through it. Before we get into that, though, as mentioned, there are 2 people that passed the social studies exam in the last week or so, and we would love to hear more about that experience. How about Dan? Do you have do you have a microphone? Are you able to talk about it or just chat? Okay. Let me see if I turn it up. I can just kind of hear you.
Congratulations, Dan.
Yeah, congratulations indeed. Yeah. So what was your impression of the test? What were the surprises? What would you share with the class about, like, what do you need to know to get that done?
Definitely type myself out of a few answers. Um, Sometimes easy to overthink the questions.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dan. Yeah, your microphone isn't working out so well. We can't quite make out the words.
Can you hear
But
me now?
oh yeah, that's awesome. Yep.
Uh, Um, I definitely psyched myself out of a few questions. It was
Uh-huh.
very easy to get in my head. Um, and then also like the room is like very tense, and every time the table would squeak, it just a lot of outside things made like the thing more nerving, but the test itself was pretty close to the practice tests.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The visuals on the practice on the actual test were easier than the practice test because they were
Great.
more clear on the computer.
Great.
Also,
Yeah,
3
that's a good point. Clear. So the practice test, like the maps and graphs and things, were harder to read on the practice test than they were in the actual exam. Is that what you're saying?
yeah. Not yet. I'll get the dog in the cage. I will be right back.
Okay. Okay. Um, fantastic. Good advice. There are some distractions in that room when you're taking a test with other people, like a something squeaky. Okay, good to know. And
Colleen.
yeah.
So we can already take the practice test?
So I'm not sure how Dan got that assigned to them, but yes, if you had it assigned, you could. However, we have in the next couple weeks, we are doing classwork specifically geared to the social studies test and then specifically geared to the science test. And
Okay.
in those weeks, the assignment is to do a practice test, and I'm going to put them in your GED account. At the end of this week, the next class, this Wednesday, your assignment is to create a GED.com account if you don't already have one. For those of you who already have one, you're golden. There's nothing to do, but I will just put what assignment, what practice tests you need into your accounts, okay? But then throughout the next couple weeks, as we do specific classwork on the things of social studies and science, then you will be assigned to get that done on your own practice test. So coming up in the next 2 weeks, Michael.
All right. Thank you. I think I
Yeah,
have a
thanks.
practice test waiting for me. I'm pretty sure
You
I do.
might, you might have a bunch of them waiting for you
Yeah,
if
I
I
think I
remember
do.
correctly. Yeah. Yeah, so I just get into everybody's account after I have, I mean, people that already have them, I can get in there and look. And if you don't, then you'll set one up and there will just be practice tests waiting in there for you. All right. Um, Angel, you want to tell us about your social studies experience?
Personally, I thought it was a little bit more challenging this time.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure why. But I was honestly waiting for the comedy, how do you call this?
Oh, the political cartoons?
Cartoons, yes. I honestly was preparing myself days.
Were you?
before that one,
Oh.
and I had zero.
There was
political
no political cartoon questions. Well, I love to hear that. I'd be
It was much
interested
short-
to
It was much shorter than the other tests, in my
Really?
opinion, because there was like less.
just the
reading.
reading that you got was shorter. That's a really interesting thing to be aware of. You know, all of these tests are drawn from a big bank of questions. And so one time you could just randomly pull harder or longer questions, and the next time the pull is really different. So I'm really glad that you just decided to take that test a second time, because you don't know what the pull is going to be like, you know, if there are things that you happen to feel really comfortable with or not. But I've heard that from many people that the practice test is often more challenging than the official test, but it can go either way for people. Sometimes, like the practice test, the draw that they got was just easier than the one that they got for the official.
Practice test was easy.
Yeah.
Can you
Okay.
ask Angel if we have to memorize stuff?
No.
No, there's
No?
no
Okay.
memorization of stuff.
Okay.
No, it's really reading analysis, right? And some tables and graphs. Did you have a lot of graph type questions on your social studies exam, Angel?
Just the first like six questions.
First 6 questions were graphs. Okay. That's what we do for most of the class work in here that we focus on for the social studies exam, is looking at graphs.
That's the easiest part, in my opinion.
Is it? Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Yeah, the rest is reading and the stuff that we're doing in here every day. You know, it's just what's the purpose of this speech? It's all the kind of overlap with this RLA kind of class. Excellent. Anything else you want to share with people? All right, cool. Then let's get into it. Anybody else have questions, things they want me to know about? Okay, here we go into persuasive writing. So last time we talked about descriptive writing, and then we're going to talk about writer's purpose later. So today we're just going to explore what are the characteristics of persuasive writing. This is something that we are all familiar with, but maybe haven't thought of that often. If someone is trying to persuade you of something, that is persuasive writing. Can anybody think of a time or a place that they see persuasive writing? Where in your daily life? I guarantee in your daily life you see persuasive writing.
Advertising.
Absolutely, advertising is the #1 spot. Where else might we see some persuasive writing?
Logo.
Yeah, logos can be persuasive, absolutely. So there's lots of different kinds of forms of advertising, but they're all trying to convince you to do something, to buy something, it can be, the news can be persuasive, right? And more or less depending on your news source. And labels can be persuasive. To some extent, depends how extensive the language is in it, for sure. Yeah. So we're going to look at some of the strategies, because not only do we want to recognize it when we're reading something persuasive, but we want to be capable of writing something persuasive if we need to do that. Anytime we have a real point to make, we have to support it in a persuasive manner. So we're going to look at some of the different methods that support doing that. Here's a quick image of thinking about how we organize persuasive writing. We can try to convince people via ethos that is based on a person's character, their trust or credibility. Some examples of that might be a article written by a doctor explaining medical procedures and why something is safe versus something else. They have the credibility of their medical degree, something like that. So they are trying to convince you out of their own character, their experience, and their credibility. Pathos is another way that we try to convince people of things. They are through our emotions or evoke your imagination around something. Try to convince you via emotion. And then logos is using logic, evidence, consistency to convince you that this is the right thing to do, whatever it is. So ultimately, when you write your essay for the RLA exam, it is called an argumentative essay, but you are trying to then persuade. You've gotten two kind of persuasive articles that you're looking at, and you're drawing a conclusion, making an argument to persuade that you understand which is the better one. So it does come into play in the actual essay that you write for the RLA exam.
And Colleen, I know you're gonna go into this more, but I know on the reading exam when I took reading and writing before, I forgot what teacher it was, but she said that for the persuasive essay, when you read the two articles, there's no wrong article to choose.
That's absolutely correct. You can support either one of them. Generally, I find that one is easier to support because of the sources that it uses.
Supporting details and facts.
Absolutely, but it doesn't mean that that either one would not be acceptable to pick and support. Absolutely. It's just about how you go about doing it. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. And we will have entire class periods where we just talk about writing that essay and how to support it too. Okay. So when we think of this as writers ourselves, we're aiming to convince any reader that a particular point of view is the right one. We're asking them to do something. It's a call to action. It can also be known as argumentative writing. And that's how they describe it in terms of the GED. These two things are arguments. It doesn't have to be some massive fisticuffs kind of thing. It's just two different opinions on the same topic. So you always want to use evidence and logic, something that's going to support a claim, but there's also emotional appeals in there. And this is an instance where if you are trying to persuade someone, it can be biased. So what we talk about in this next class on Wednesday is identifying bias in writing. It's when somebody has a very strong opinion, but they're not necessarily trying to persuade you. They're trying to kind of like slip it in under the radar to convince you of something. But it is okay to be biased when you are projecting it that way. Like, I need to convince you of something. This is entirely my opinion based on my experience or my feelings. And that is a fine time to get it out there. It's only when you are trying to display something as fact, but it's really your opinion, that we need to pull it out and recognize it as bias. So this also often includes rhetorical questions that emphasize a point or engage the reader. Anybody know what is a rhetorical question?
What is it, like a question you know the answer to? What is it?
It is kind of like a question that you know the answer to, a question that you don't expect someone to answer. So a lot of times when we're writing, we don't even know who the reader's going to be. We're not sitting around waiting for their answer. It is just something that just like sparks the reader's thinking. So it's a good way to get somebody involved in writing if you ask a rhetorical question. Good job, kid. We look at this longer list of examples where we see persuasive writing. It's going to be in editorials. We've already talked about advertisements and commercials, argumentative essays. Movie trailers is a good example of something that's persuasive. They're going to try to convince you it's the best movie ever. Brochures and travel posters, anything that's trying to get you to spend money or do something in a particular way. But some articles that may be trying to persuade you could just be about recycling, right? You can have it supported by facts, but you might have a passion about that and want to make sure that people really understand it. So it really has persuasive writing has a wide range. So again, the common techniques are that appeal to authority. So we're using either a famous person's reputation to back it up or their credentials. And it is in an attempt to bypass critical thinking. So anybody ever see a commercial like on the internet where they say they're a doctor, but you're not really sure, and they're just like, in my doctor's experience, you should take this supplement, something like that. That is trying to bypass your critical thinking. Like, oh, you don't have any evidence. You're not presenting us with anything that would really support this, but based on your credential or how you've identified it, we're supposed to just think that's a good thing. There's those rhetorical questions again. They're used to emphasize the point or get the reader thinking about something. And again, the breakdown of like the most common paths to it. And of course, you can use a combination of those to persuade. Ethos is using that ethical appeal, that appeal to your good-natured self. Pathos is a more emotional, and then logos is the logical appeal. I am going to jump over these rhetorical devices just because I don't think we have enough time today. They are interesting for writing, and I encourage you, if you have time, to look them up. But I want to make sure we get through as much of today's content as we can, and these do not tend to come up on the GED. Okay. Let's talk about persuasive essay.
Everyone has disagreement, whether it's who's the best performer of all time or what's the tastiest flavor of ice cream. Someone is going to have an opinion that might differ from. That doesn't stop us from trying to convince each other of our perspective. This is where persuasive essays come in. Persuasive writing is used to sway our readers to a certain viewpoint or opinion of the writer. How's that done? Today, we'll go over the purpose of persuasive writing and how to create an effective persuasive piece. Let's get started. Persuasive essays, also known as argumentative essays, are texts that are meant to convince the reader of something. There are other things besides essays that can be persuasive, such as speeches and social media posts. From politics to music to arguing why purple is the best color ever, anything can be made into a persuasive text. But the focus of this video is persuasive essays. When writing a persuasive essay, there is a structure you can follow to help make your argument clear and effective. The essay is typically made up of three main sections: the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. To write an effective persuasive essay, each section should contain specific points you want to discuss. The introduction paragraph of your essay should always introduce the topic you will be discussing. A good introduction paragraph will also have a hook, which is a sentence that grabs your reader's attention. Once you have your hook, you will state your thesis. The thesis is the main point or argument that you want to prove in your essay. Every persuasive essay must have a thesis. Lastly, you should always end each section of your essay with a concluding sentence. This is a sentence that wraps up the end of the paragraph and helps transition into the next paragraph. Let's look at an example of an introduction paragraph of a persuasive essay. Long ago, ancient Egyptians worshipped cats. They believed they were godly creatures. Today, cats are still very beloved, but as household pets. Some cats aren't so lucky. There are many cats who have yet to find their forever home. Cats are amazing animals that you should consider adopting because they are very intelligent, have an urgent need to be placed in a home, and make great companions. These are just a few reasons I'll discuss as to why cats should be protected. This introduction paragraph had a hook. It grabbed our attention by talking about ancient cats and related it to cats today. We see there is a thesis. The writer believes we need to adopt homeless cats, ideally from shelters, and gives 3 reasons why. Lastly, they concluded the introduction paragraph by saying they would give more details about their reasons. Next comes the body paragraphs. The body of a persuasive essay holds all the main points you, as the writer, want to argue. It's best to separate your points by paragraphs. So if you have 3 main arguments, you should have at least 3 body paragraphs, explaining them in detail. When you argue your points in a paragraph, you must make sure to explain why these reasons support your thesis. Let's look at an example. We can see here that the author addressed the three main reasons that support the thesis with 3 body paragraphs. Each paragraph began with a transition word or hook, then went into detail to support the reason, and lastly, it ended the paragraph with a concluding sentence. The conclusion of a persuasive essay is a summary of all the points mentioned earlier that wraps up the essay and often includes a catchy ending to drive the point home. Whether you've been thinking of adopting for a long time or just considered it, cats everywhere are in need of a home. What better way to help an intelligent animal in need and make a new friend than to adopt a shelter cat? As you can see, conclusion paragraphs don't need to be super long. As long as they summarize the overall thesis and arguments of the essay, it's an effective closing to a persuasive essay. As you're writing the essay, there are a few tips and tricks to keep in mind to make sure your persuasion is more effective. Repetition. Don't say the same thing so many times that you start to sound redundant, but find ways to bring back your main argument throughout the essay. Your readers and your listeners will remember your argument better if you repeat and emphasize it throughout the piece. Real-world examples. Whether you're using data, emotions, or credibility to drive your point home, you should always try to use real-world examples to further persuade your readers. Call to action. A good thesis in a persuasive essay is a statement that asks the reader to do something. Think hard about what you want to convince people of and narrow that action into one clear sentence. The rest of your essay should revolve around that. Okay, let's quickly review everything we talked about to wrap up. The main purpose of a persuasive essay is to persuade the reader to a certain viewpoint or opinion of the writer. The essay will have an introduction paragraph that introduces the main argument, multiple body paragraphs that discuss sub-arguments that support the main argument, and a conclusion that wraps things up. And finally, if you want to make your persuasion more effective, remember to repeat your main argument throughout the paper. Try to use real-world examples to support your points and make your thesis a call to action. That's all for this review. Thanks for watching and happy studying.
All right. I am going to jump ahead to look at persuasive review examples, and I'll hand these out to you, give you a chance. So these are restaurant review and a movie review. Keeping in mind that persuasive writing doesn't have to be just convincing you to do something. It can be just as easily convincing you to not do something. So go ahead and take 5 to 10 minutes to read this, and I encourage you on Zoom to open it up on your own so that you can page through. There's 2 reviews in here. Okay, are everybody done reading? Yeah. How about out there on Zoom? Are we done with this reading? Give me a thumbs up or a yes.
Yeah, the first part.
Okay. I'll give you a few more minutes.
Okay.
Thanks. Thanks, Chris. Everybody else good to go? Good to discuss? Okay, I'm gonna take that as a yes. All right. What do you think? What do you think of this first persuasive review? Are you persuaded? Would you go?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good. How about what of those ways that we persuade do you think were used? Again, that it was, let me bring it back up here. Ethos, character, trust, credibility, pathos, emotions, imagination, or logos, logic, evidence, consistency, and it can be more than one.
Pathos,
Yeah, what makes
Logos?
you say that?
because emotion, imagination, is literally using, it's drawing you in.
Yeah, absolutely. And was that Chris? Did you say something?
No.
Oh,
No,
okay.
that was me. I said Logos.
Oh, Michael, Lagos. Yes, good. Yeah, it seems to be a combination of the both of them, getting this big emotion out and then using some logic around the details about the meals to support it. Excellent. What are some of the words or phrases in here that let you know that this was an emotional outcry? Like they're trying to bring you in with emotion. What are some of the phrases in here that make you believe that they are trying to pull you in via emotion?
Dude says he'll have you licking the plate.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a standout for sure.
Just the way it's describing each meal, the plate, or even though I was fresca.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. There's also things that are just like, not necessarily, well, they do kind of substantiate it. They just describe the place as special, right? That's an emotional response when you just say something is special. They support it up of what might make it special is the staff is treating you like family and it feels like a celebration. All of that is a very kind of emotional tug, as emotional tug. How about the Lagos part that Michael was talking about? What are some of the words and phrases that help you recognize that they are using some logic in this to try to convince?
Well, he says he gets references to like cilantro and lime, smoky homemade mole sauce.
Mhm.
Like he gives that would be logic.
Yeah, absolutely. So some specific examples of the kinds of food that were so particular tasty. Um, yeah, topped with, I mean, he gives a really, really good description. So we're using all of those descriptive skills that we worked on in the last class also to persuade. So the description really comes through every kind of writing. Sometimes it's description for description's sake, but in this case, we're using description to help support our persuasive approach. Excellent. How about the next one, the movie review that was less favorable? Are you convinced? Do you not want to go to this? Or would you still maybe check it out?
Sounds kind of lame.
So, yeah, I think the way they have written it, it makes it sound kind of lame. And we probably, most of us wouldn't want to go. What do you think is being used to convince you in this case? And I can flip back over to that image to think about it. What do you think is being used most? Maybe again, a combination of things.
Pathos, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the phrases in this that suggest pathos to you?
Not real quick, I'm gonna skim it.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much like the first paragraph, really.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I also like the sounds exciting, right? It would be, you know. Um, they're trying to set you up for disappointment, show you all the ways that you are going to be disappointed by this movie if you're somebody that likes action. Yeah. What about any other tool in here used to persuade? Yeah, again, I would go with Lagos. Neither of these seem to have ethos involved. Let's see what the chat says. What did I miss? What did I miss? Yeah, Dan, we are just talking about ethos, pathos, and logos and looking at these persuasive reviews and kind of thinking about that. Yes. So how is logos used in this movie review?
Bad writing, bad act.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So there's lots of examples of the ways that it failed. This is a good section here too. Instead of well choreographed high energy fight scenes, we're bombarded with rapid fire edits that make it impossible to see who's actually throwing punches. So that's a real specific example of why they didn't like it, and that's some logical support of why this isn't good. So they've got things like cringeworthy that's appealing to our emotion, but it's also backing it up with the logic. Excellent. It's making sense to everybody? We've all read plenty of reviews, right? Okay. I am going to, for the sake of our time today, because the next topic for today's class is author's purpose. It's very important, but I do ask that you do this assignment because between the two assignments, they're not very long. So the persuasive review assignment is this: to be completed online. Yeah, I have it on paper form too. After reviewing examples of persuasive reviews, it's time to write your own. Think of the last time you had a strong response to a movie, book, restaurant, or album. Just one of those things. Strong response, either way. Create your own review. It should be a paragraph or two. Persuade your readers to attend the restaurant, watch the movie, read the book, or steer them away. It's your choice. I've had some very funny negative reviews written in here, as well as some really nice positive ones. So we're going to use all those descriptive writing techniques to do it. I'm going to ask you to just hang on to that. And we're going to get into the classwork for today. But let me show you also what you are graded on in these. Okay. The online instructions say use at least 2 of the persuasive devices that we talked about in class, and here is a list of them. I can give you these to you here. If that works out, that's great. We didn't have time to go into the details, so if you don't include these, it's going to be okay. Or I'll give you one between the two of you. Pardon me? I gave you two of those? Okay, thanks. Okay, it is 10 to 7. Why don't we go ahead and take, it's 6:46. Let's take a break until 7 o'clock and we'll come back and start with today's work in week 5 so that we can be all caught up.
Okay, sounds good. 7 o'clock.
Thank you. 7 o'clock.
All right, cool.
How you doing? Yeah. You with you, how? No? You having a good summer? Done anything interesting? Watch any good shows? Can you remind me of the show that we were talking about last time? I really wanted to see it and I made it out. But now I can't find it and I don't. Is it the first show? Oh, yeah. Is that it? Yeah, okay. I don't know if it like fell off of the streaming things that I had access to when. Yeah, I want to maybe oh, okay. Because you couldn't find it, yeah, somebody did. Well, maybe sometime it'll be worth it. But I did work on it. Okay. Anything else you like? No. Very cute. Yeah, you bet. Angel, can you remember on the social studies exam, did you have any questions that had to do with primary or secondary sources? So that's on.
Okie dokie.
Excellent. Okay, as we come back, thank you. We're gonna start on what should have been today's class, and I think we'll get through what we need to for today. So you'll find this material under week 5, and I would like all of you on Zoom to make sure that you open up the page we are going to work on, because there are specific questions embedded in the page for you to answer. We're not there yet, but just if you can, make sure that you navigate and open this up yourself. So we're going to talk about author's purpose now, and we can do that because we have discussed in class different kinds of writing that are used to inform, to entertain. Entertain and descriptive writing can be interchangeable a lot of times. We are entertained by the way that novels are written, and the description goes into the characters, things like that. So when we're talking about the purpose of writing, it is generally inform, entertain, persuade, but description is a part of entertainment. So we're going to look at some of those language choices and tone that help us identify an author's purpose, and then we're going to practice it a lot. We're just going to practice identifying it a whole bunch, because that's how we're going to learn it. Just works out the best. So now that we understand those different kinds of writing, we should be able to see it. So let's do a quick video and some slides, and then we'll start practicing. Any questions about author's purpose before I get started? Sorry. Okay. I need to turn that down a little bit. He's a good loud one.
Today we are going on a dangerous journey inside the mind of the author. Every piece of text is written for a purpose, and especially in informational texts, every author structures their texts, words, and their ideas with that purpose in mind. And sometimes that purpose will be harder to see. As readers, our job is to consider the author's purpose as we read. How is it influencing the information the author shares? How is it influencing my understanding of the topic? Is what I think the same as what the author thinks? Do I agree with them? Do I disagree? You may be familiar with the memory device of PI, persuade, inform, entertain, as 3 categories of purpose, but I'd like to go deeper than that. I live in Washington, D.C., which is home to an entire professional class of what are called lobbyists, people whose job it is to advocate to Congress on behalf of the special interest. For example, the oil industry or the cheese industry. This isn't always bad. You can learn more about lobbyists and advocates in Khan Academy's government and politics course. But frequently, it takes the form of someone from an industry trying to convince Congress to give them a competitive advantage over other industries. Now let's pull real-world politics out of this and pretend, for the purposes of this lesson, that there are 2 warring lobby groups in DC. One that represents the cake industry and another that represents the pie industry. An age-old conflict. So hold that conflict in your mind for a second, cake versus pie. Now, when we read informational text, we should be learning new information. But the author's opinions can shape the text to the point where the information becomes biased or misleading. When you read informational text, maintain an air of healthy skepticism. Ask yourself the following questions constantly. What's the author's opinion? What information did they include, or what information did they leave out? And if so, was that on purpose? What's the connotation of the author's word choice? How do the words feel? And what's the overall tone of the piece? So now we have these questions to ask ourselves. Let's return to our pie versus cake lobby fight in Washington. So imagine you're reading the Washington Post and you see this opinion column. Cake connected to cavities and poor dental health study finds. A recent study by the American Dental Association connected the consumption of cake or similar foods with a 30% increased risk of tooth decay, cavities, and gingivitis. People who reported having consumed cake in the previous 60 days were significantly more likely to experience problems related to dental health than those people who did not. Cake is dangerous. Cake, which rarely contains fruit, will rot your teeth. And then if we squint down at the very bottom of the column, it'll say in small text, the author is the CEO of Circular Solutions, a pie advocacy network. And now let's ask ourselves those same questions again, while acknowledging that this is a fake story that I made up for the purposes of this video. There is nobody named Wendell Apricot Jam, although I wish there were, that'd be a great name. So, what's the author's opinion? Well, it seems to me that the author really thinks cake is dangerous and poses a threat to the nation's dental health. We know this because they literally say cake is dangerous. They want people to buy and eat fewer cakes. What information did the author choose to include? Well, so this is interesting. The author talks about the results of this study and the big takeaways about the danger of cake or similar foods, and then they go on to mention, incidentally, that cake rarely contains fruit. That's a curious thing to say. It's almost like they're saying pie, which has fruit in it, is better for you than cake, without actually saying it. What information did the author choose to leave out? Well, notice that the piece says cake or similar foods. I would be hard-pressed to come up with a definition of foods similar to cake that does not also include desserts like pie, but the way that this piece is written, it swerves out of its way to avoid pinning the same tooth decay risks on pie the way that it blames cake. I think it would be reasonable to assume that if we read the underlying study that this opinion piece is based on, it would include pies and cakes in the same category of sugary desserts that are associated with bad dental outcomes. Why would the author do this? Well, they want you to buy pie instead of cake. But they don't want you to think too hard about it, because if you did, you would buy and eat both less cake and less pie. And the pie lobby doesn't want that. What's the connotation or the feeling of the author's word choices? Well, they're citing a scientific study by dentists, so they want you to take their warnings seriously. And they're using words like risk, danger, rot, and problems. They want you to make an association between eating cake and bad tooth health. They want you to associate scientific language with trustworthiness. So I'm going to put down scientific authority here. What's the overall tone? It's negative. The author does not want you to eat cake. They want you to think it's bad.
I'm going to pause it for 1 second to ask you a question. Based on what he has said so far, what type of writing is this that we've just talked about? Not so much. What's that? Argumentative, yes, and persuasive. Yeah, persuasive, argumentative. And so based on what he's just said about that used scientific authority to kind of get your attention, which kind of persuasive writing was that?
Logos.
Yes. Actually, there's some logos in there, but what else? Yes, it is the credibility of the person writing it, the study by the American Dental Association. So they're relying on both of those, logos and ethos.
And they planted a little hint here that fruity foods are better. And what's a fruity food? Pie. Can they say pie is safer? No, not without lying outright. Now, I want to be clear about two things. Sometimes an author's purpose really will just be to inform straightforwardly. Not everything has to be a tug of war between you and the author over the truth. Sometimes a writer just wants you to know the life cycle of a butterfly, or how to make egg salad, or the order the US presidents came. But most of the time, there's a purpose and opinion behind the text. Now, the second thing I want to be super clear about is that I made up this whole thing. I made up the article, the statistics, Wendell, all of that thing. I like both pie and cake very much. And now that I've said that, I'm sure you're wondering, oh, is David in the pocket of big dessert? And the answer is no. I'm in the pocket of big free education for everyone, everywhere. You can learn anything. David out.
Makes sense, decent example. Let's go ahead and look a little bit more into author's purpose. Oh, well, we don't need to do those examples. I have too many questions for you to go through. Okay. What we are going to work on now is, yes. Yes, author's purpose, example 1. So if I come back here again, this is author's purpose, activity 1. Yes. Okay. Let's see if we can identify these purposes. We're going to do this one together, and then I'm going to give you a whole bunch to do on your own, and we'll come back and review. But this one, let's go through one by one. Okay, so the very first one, a story about a family trying to stick together and survive through the Great Depression in the Midwest in the 30s. What do you think the author's purpose again is? It's again either entertain, persuade, or inform. Yeah, this would be entertain. This is challenging sometimes because it is talking about a historical event. We might be tempted to think that it's inform, but when they say it is a story, that would suggest that it is not factual or actual. It's like a novel or something like that. Yes, so entertain would be the right one. And that word story is really kind of our key, because we could absolutely read something that was about the Great Depression that could be informative. About number 2, a section in a history book describing conditions and causes of the Great Depression in the Midwest in the 1930s.
Inform.
Absolutely. Yes, Michael, it's inform. And how do you know that?
Conditions and causes.
Yeah, causes, right. Causes, conditions. Sounds like it's going to be a factual presentation of something. Excellent. Number 3 is an instructional booklet describing how to operate a smartphone. Yeah, Howell says inform. Absolutely. How did you know that? How can you describe that to be true? Anybody can jump in on that. How do we know that this is inform?
Instructional booklet.
Excellent. Yeah, that word instructional is going to instruct and inform us. Yeah, absolutely. Great.
And how to operate.
Yeah, excellent. So we don't think they're going to be persuading us necessarily at that point. We've already bought the item. Okay. Number 4, an article where the author argues that an iPhone's better than an Android phone. Persuade. Yeah, absolutely. And how do you know that? Absolutely. That word argue really is a clue for us. That means it is like argumentative or persuasive. Yeah, excellent. About number 5, a poem about why the iPhone is the greatest consumer electronic device ever made.
Persuade. Or is it inform?
It sounds like it could be persuasive. What else could it be?
Entertain.
Yeah, entertain. The fact that it's a poem is probably just pure entertainment, even though there may be some persuasive language in there. Entertain and take the center stage, but persuasive's not a bad secondary, right? Authors often have more than one motive. How about number 6, the story of a young athlete who takes steroids and his life and future fall apart. You're right, entertain. This could be something that they hope we learn something about, but the fact that it says story again is going to suggest that this is a narrative tale and it is there to entertain us. How about number 7, a medical report describing the effects of steroids on the human body?
Inform.
Yes, excellent. And how about number 8? A speech written by a professional athlete listing the negative effects of steroids and urging young athletes not to use steroids. Yeah, how it says persuade. Excellent. Number 9, a booklet containing school rules and the consequences for violating those rules. Inform, absolutely. And number 10, a story written about a young boy who moves to a new school and is bullied, but he gains self-confidence by joining a sports team and learns to stand up for himself. Entertain, you got it. Okay, let's try it now as you will see it on the GED. So for those of you who are on Zoom, you can scroll down the actual page and answer the questions and check yourself. So these take a while because they're each little paragraphs and it is much more similar to a GED. It's not a one-word answer. We're looking really descriptively, what is the author trying to tell us? For those of you here, I have them in card form. You are very welcome to work together and discuss if you would like. But I ask that you don't write on the cards and instead write your answers on the answer sheet and then we'll review them together. So this will take a good while, maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Where is this going?
This new thing that I missed out.
This one.
No, you don't have to. This way. That's just for you. Go ahead, read each of these cards or each of the questions that are online. Think about which answer makes sense. Again, please don't write on the cards themselves, write on the answer sheet, and then we will review them together. But this, since there's 20 questions, may take about 20 minutes to do. You can absolutely work and discuss. If you're not sure, please engage your fellow classmates in it. Yeah, yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We take this one.
The cards? No, sorry. I paid a lot of money for those. I need to use them class after class. Yeah, I know. Yeah, they feel expensive. Yeah. They just seemed more fun printed out in cards than it did on a piece of paper. Yeah.
Think that they're named,
I don't know. What do you think, Kate?
I think it is.
Okay, then put that down. We're gonna find out together. We're gonna find out together. But it's good, I mean, we should discuss, probably other people in here are wondering the same things. Group up, you can talk about them.
number 9,
Mm-hmm.
A and C are the same.
It's crazy. They sure are. I guess if that's the choice, then you would just choose them both. Thank you for pointing that out. I will make a note. Put something else in there. Let's see if that's true online. Ah, the correct choices for number 9 are online, so I just need to change those cards. C is to describe a character's dilemma. In case that changes anybody's answers for number 9. On the cards, A and C are the same, but C should be. Oh no, let's describe a character's dilemma is D on there. To narrate a story of what explains a situation. To narrate a story that explains a character's situation. Thank you. You guys are my guinea pigs using these cards, so thanks for finding the problems. You can open them up, Alyssa. You don't have to leave them clipped together. Okay. How are we doing? It looks like finishing up. How about Christopher and Michael? Have you finished answering questions?
Yeah, I'm done.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let's go ahead and get started. We'll just, any ones that are unfinished, we'll find out together. Okay? I would love to ask volunteers to read each one of these. Sometimes it falls different on your ears than it does when you read it just in your head. So if I could have a volunteer to read question 1.
All right. A metaphor is a figure of speech in which two unlike things are compared without using like or as. A metaphor makes a direct comparison. In the example, Myra?
I think it's Myrna.
Myrna, okay, is
Oh.
a wildcat today. Myrna is described as difficult. Comparing her to a wildcat allows the author to illustrate her personality with voice and flair. Do not, however, confuse factual statements with metaphors. If a wildcat is named Myrna, the sentence Myrna is a wildcat would not be a metaphor at all. What is the author's main purpose?
What do we think?
To educate the reader. Uh,
Yeah, on a literary
yeah,
concept.
yeah.
Who chose that one? Is that, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think that one's good. We can check it on here too. So again, if this is something that you did in class that you want to revisit, you can look at and check your own answers if you want to revisit it. That one works out. Excellent. Yeah, oh, awesome.
The election for governor has turned into a circus. Candidates are so busy trying to buy votes, they no longer care what is best for our state. It is impressive that citizens demand our politicians be worthy leaders. On September 29th, right in the name Barbara Phillips for governor. The establishment may not have chosen to include her on the ballot, but the citizens can ensure that she is our next leader.
All right. What do you think the purpose of this one is?
Ah,
B.
I hear C, I hear B.
Hey,
I hear A.
To make
Ooh,
an
it's all over
argument.
the place. What do you think, Michael?
To make an argument in favor of the candidate.
Make an argument in favor of the candidate. That one looks like B. We'll give it a try. That looks pretty good to me. Yeah, so it is trying to promote Barbara Billups for governor. Or persuade us. So these are so much more similar to the kinds of questions you would see about author's purpose on the GED. All right, who would like to read question 3?
I will.
Thanks.
Anita, I know that 3 men have asked for your hand in marriage, but I am the only one who truly wants what's best for you. I have loved you for 2 years, well before you won the lottery. The other suitors did not know you before you became America's wealthiest woman. What's the author's main purpose?
Yeah, what do you think?
To present an argument with supporting reasons.
Yeah, definitely trying to persuade this lottery winner that it's true love. Excellent. All right, good job. How about question 4? Any volunteers out here? Gabe, you want to read?
I'll read it.
You'll read the next one. Okay. I'll read this one just to give you guys a break. Pinky continued her lecture. This sandwich is called gyro, spelled Gyro. There are a lot of words you will use in the kitchen that don't quite spell the way they sound. Think of sherbet, chipotle, spigot. Perhaps it is because the language of the kitchen borrows from a variety of languages. Pinky looked off in the distance, contemplating the language of food, which seemed to stir a deep happiness within her. What's the author's main purpose?
B, C.
Yeah, C or D? They're both narration and description. That's how difficult it gets. Like, we're not just getting in the category. Now it's like, what about the details of this category? Do we have a tiebreaker? C or D? Anybody?
I'll go C.
Okay. Oh, so close. Any other choice? Should we try D? Try again.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, we should. Oh, it's thinking hard. Oh, it's
Oh,
not that one either.
It was C, right? To narrate the
No,
story by
it wasn't
describing.
C. It wasn't C.
Are you sure? I thought I
Yeah.
saw a
It's
green check mark.
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
Am I
Yeah.
going crazy?
To narrate a story
Thank
by
you.
describing a scene.
Yeah, I think I got it
Okay,
right.
good. That's good because I'm like, oh, there's a problem with this if it's not right.
Yeah,
Okay.
see?
Ooh, thank you. I'm just losing my mind
I
for a
thought
second.
I
That's
was
why I need a
losing
lot of
it.
eyes on this. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Gabe. Yeah. Question 6.
Effective remedy available to the public. And complex mixture of work environment of equalizes extreme hair lifters guaranteed to grow back through creases, stresses in as little as 2 days. Simply drink 1 liter every night within a week. You will see new hair growth. It will look completely natural. Have a full head of luxurious versus like volume and purchase the live and very elixir at a supermarket.
Excellent. Thank you. What do we think is the right one here? See, it sounds pretty persuasive. Yeah. That
Go with
sounds good.
whatever you guys say.
I know some of them are tricky because they do have that, like, it's getting a little finer cut than just to inform, entertain, persuade, like exactly what's going on in here. Yeah. Okay. Question number 6. Have I misnumbered these? Question 6 and question 6, interesting. So I'm guessing you can see you really are my guinea pigs. This matches the cassowary. That is question 6. The one before was misnumbered. Okay. So, yes, the cassowary. I'll just take this one and then look for a volunteer for the next. The cassowary is just a bird, some may think. To the casual observer, some of its traits are indeed unremarkable. For example, cassowaries distribute seeds across the jungle floor. Also, the female lays 3 to 8 eggs, and yet cassowaries are also deadly. Watch a cassowary swallow a banana whole, and you will glimpse its voracious appetite. But most frightening is the cassowary's talons. Resembling a pterodactyl's talon, a cassowary can rip through a car door with one swipe. What is the author's purpose here?
To teach me how to spell pterodactyl?
Excellent.
Is
Yeah,
that how you spell it?
it is. Yeah, it totally is. Yeah. Isn't that
Oh.
crazy?
Yeah. I put to inform readers using facts.
Say that again, Michael?
To inform readers using facts.
Yeah, that sounds good. Sounds good. Make sense for everybody? Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, it throws me off when it says try again here, because if you get it right, why would you try again? Interesting. Still learning things about this. Okay, who would like to read number 7?
The long white halls of the Children's Hospital were very similar to the ones in South Carolina. Back when I was diagnosed, the bland walls seemed sterile and sad. I turned into Dina's room and was surprised to see enormous flowers painted in bright reds, blues, and yellows on her walls. A brand new TV connected to a DVD player, loaded down with games, was in the corner. I looked around. Dina was sitting on the edge of her bed, red-eyed, crying. She was a small girl of 9 with curly red hair pulled back in a scrunchie. She wore a hospital gown and had an ivy hooked up to the crook in her arm. What is the author's main purpose?
Hawa says B, to create a description of a scene using sensory details.
I agree.
All right, that's 2. Anybody else? Confirm.
Same B.
Yeah, excellent. Well, it's really thinking about it for a while. It's going to keep us all in suspense. Yeah, that's the right one. All right, we're moving on, computer that is struggling. Okay, who would like to read about grilled cheese sandwich? Yes, you want to read? Okay, thanks.
Make a grilled cheese sandwich. Take 2 pieces of white bread. On each side, spread 1 teaspoon of butter. Place the first slice butter side down on a heated griddle. Place an unwrapped piece of American cheese on top. Place the second slice of bread butter on top of the cheese. After 3 minutes, use a turner to flip the sandwich. Cook for 3 additional minutes. Use the turner to remove the sandwich from the griddle. Place the sandwich on a small plate. Cut diagonally into equal halves and serve.
All right, what's weird about this? These instructions, anybody catch it? Do you see anything weird in these instructions? Unwrapped. Yeah, unwrapped. That's suggesting that you're placing it in there with plastic all around it. Nobody's gonna eat that. It's funny. I didn't notice it before when I was reading through these. But anyway, just interesting. What is the purpose of this?
I put B on
You put B? Yeah, absolutely. You put B to give reasons and supporting evidence for a position?
Oh,
Or is it yours different?
the construction.
Instructions, yes, to give instructions. Oh yeah, I just have them in a different order on the computer. Okay, yes, absolutely, it's to give instructions. How about number 9?
But the diabetes part was bad too. Not for what you'd think, though. People thought that getting shots and sticking my finger multiple times a day was the horrible part. Well, okay, that was. But even worse than that was no one really understands diabetes. Some people think I did something stupid, so I deserve diabetes. Actually, I just felt sick one day, went to the doctor and came out as a diabetic. Some people think I am contagious. The only thing you can get from me is a look of pity and a large dose of sarcasm. Some people think I shouldn't whine about diabetes. I really try not to. Others can't understand why I don't whine about it. Many times I'd actually really like to. Regardless, I can never win. What's the author's main purpose?
This is a tough one, huh? What
I
do you
put
think?
to describe a character's dilemma.
To describe a character's dilemma? Mhm.
There's only
I don't know
two.
if that's right.
Yeah, yeah. So, let's see how it comes out on here. I think it's a story describing their situation, but it could be to describe a dilemma. I don't remember. Yeah, it's not on there. So you think it's D? Yeah,
B and D are.
B and D are the same to describe their dilemma. Yeah, let me look at that card again as I've rewritten over them. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. I honestly don't remember, and I got these from somewhere else. And I think either are pretty good to describe a character's dilemma or to narrate a story that explains a character's situation. I'm not sure if it is so much dilemma. I think it should be to narrate a story that explains a character's situation, because although they have a problem, this isn't like a problem solution statement. So I think it's all about description. So this is really hanging. For those of you that did it online, did you have trouble with the questions hanging and not getting to answers, or were you able to get to answers? It could be interaction with Zoom.
Well, it just started not being able to get the answers. The last two, I couldn't get the answers.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So I don't know what this one is.
Yeah, I think it's to narrate a story that explains a character's situation.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Just because we don't have a problem solution,
That's
that
what I
would
had
make it
down
more
there
of a
first, and
dilemma.
then I switched it to describe a character's dilemma after I read it a
Really?
couple of times. Yeah.
They're so close together, aren't they? They're so close together. But that's life, and that's the GED test too. We're gonna find often that we're faced with two seemingly good answers and just have to make that kind of 50-50 choice sometimes. All right, who would like to read question 10 about Pinky? Okay, I'll do it for this one. Pinky went to the refrigerator and pulled out 2 slim deli packets. Today we are making sandwiches. Most people think sandwiches are simple, but there are rules. Let's start with the filling. Pinky held up one package. This is Havarti, and this, she tapped a perfectly manicured hand on the second packet. This is provolone. She opened the flimsy packaging and with a 3-tined fork peeled off a thin slice of white and then golden cheese and place the slices on our plates. Try them, she coaxed. What's the author's main purpose?
Would be A.
You said C and what?
This
Just C. Okay, let's see. Let's see if it can come up with an answer for us.
What do you think it is?
So I think it's narrating a story using sensory details.
Okay, that's what I put down.
Yeah, that's what I think it is. Other people go with that one? Yeah, so in this case, I think it's the last one. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna see the answers in here. All right, who would like to read question 11 about Australia?
You can just start calling out people.
I hate to do that. I don't like putting people on the spot because that makes some people very uncomfortable. I like to have volunteers when I can. How about, but it looks like Kawa might be wanting to read it. Number 11.
In Australia,
Okay.
not confuse it with the American. It's been very totally different animals. When referring to the American causing the overfit impact, we pronounced all the main website incorrectly labeled the first letter a silent O. The scientific name as the syllables. Sir Joseph Bain named the Australian animal possum because he thought it looked like the American opossum. If you look at the pictures of both, you'll see that Australian opossum is quite friendly looking. And the American opossum is much more willful.
Nice. What do you think the main purpose is here?
Could be.
Yeah, to inform the reader, you bet. Yeah, that's a good choice. Potentially unknown subject. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it absolutely is. Great. How about I'll take Angel's recommendation and just start nabbing people. How about Christopher? Do you want to read question 12?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Thank you for your enthusiasm.
All right. The most relaxing place on Earth is Bexar Cabins. Situated high in the Dundee Mountains, Bexar Cabins boast a whirlpool, sauna, massage center, and spa. And that's not all. Bexar Cabins provide access to golf courses, two tennis courts, motorcycle trails, and a beautiful swimming pool. If ever there was a fantastic place to escape, Bexar Cabins is it. Check out the Bexar Cabins website. Guest reviews speak volumes. Be ready to vacation in style and leave all your stress at home. Bexar Cabins are certainly worth the trip. What is the author's main purpose?
Thank you, Christopher.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty compelling.
D.
It's to persuade the reader to go to Bexar Cabins,
No,
right? That's B, yeah?
O B.
Isn't that the persuade one for,
That's D.
is it?
On the card, it's.
Oh, on the card it's D. All right, yes, then it's D. Persuade the reader. Yeah, on the here it's B, on the card it's D. Interesting. Some differences. Oh no. They're all just hanging and spinning. Let's see what we can do about this. Can we reload the page? Oh, they're all spinning. Come on, guys. You can do it. We can get through this. Okay,
13.
there we go. You ready to read, Michael?
Yeah, ever since the third grade, my mother had made a deal with me that she would buy back any candy that teachers gave me. I walked in the house and dug deep into my backpack. I pulled out a fistful of candy. Mom's jaw dropped. It was a financially advantageous day for me. 3 pixie sticks from the reading teacher, one roll of Smarties for taking a test in health, 3 peppermints from my science teacher, a lollipop for Lollipop Monday in art, of course, and one Tootsie Roll from math class. That's 9 pieces of candy, I called out. That's $4.50. I smiled smugly. I guess I don't have to buy Halloween candy this year, Mom said, reaching into her purse.
Wow, that's wild. Have you ever heard of moms buying candy back from their kids. I've heard of that at Halloween. Sometimes people, they don't want them to eat it, so they buy it back from them. It's crazy. Anyway, what do we think is the purpose of this story? That narrate a story using dialogue? Yeah, that sounds like a good one. Yes. Question 13 is narrate a story that uses dialogue. How about question 14? Alyssa, you interested in reading? Okay. Who else? Who wants to read? Gabe, you want to do another one? Thanks.
Principal Pat or drag Barry toward the door, passed by Tommy. Tommy raised his head from the table to reveal weary eyes. He slumped over just a little. All of a sudden, he clutching his stomach. Tommy staggered and fell in front of Principal Pratt. His foot outstretched. Tommy looked as if he might grip Carrie's. Quickly, Principal Pratt grabbed the sleeves edge at Tommy's elbow. As he did, Tommy teetered and immediately. Tommy stood upright and vomited on Darius's shoes. What is the author's main purpose?
What do we think?
Story theme using narration.
Absolutely. Thanks. Yes. Describe a story scene using narration. That's it. Guys, you want to keep going? Read question 15 for us? Thanks.
Possible word can be its own antonym, absolutely. Called contronyms. These special words can cause problems for those who do not know both meanings. Bad can mean not good, but it can also mean good. A non-native speaker may not understand the context of such a contronym. Surprisingly, there are many examples. Research how out and overlooked can be self-antonyms.
Interesting. Yeah. What do you think the author's purpose is of this one?
To present a logical argument.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a whole lot of argument backing up.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
To explain something that's not well known.
Yeah, that sounds like a good one. Yes, it's to explain something that's not well known. That is a really interesting thing. Contronyms, a word that means itself and the opposite in slang or based on how we use it. Pretty interesting. How about you, Angel? You want to read number 16?
You want me to start with the 1/2, or do you want me to start from the?
Orzo, from Orzo. Yeah, that's good.
So orzo with peas and bacon. 3 strips of bacon chopped plus dipping, no, 1 tablespoon Parmesan. Those, well, I didn't want to start them.
No, it's good. It's good.
Cook orzo as pre-packaged directions about 5 to 7 minutes before the orzo is done. Add the peas straight. Cook bacon until almost crisp, drain excess oil from pan. Save those bacon drippings, but leave about 2 tablespoons in the pan. Add the orzo and peas in the hot pan with the bacon. Toss a few times and transfer to a bowl. Top with Parmesan.
Excellent. What do you think the reason is, his purpose?
See instructions for following.
Instructions for following a procedure. Yes. Instructions for following a procedure. Number 17. You want to go again, Hawa? Oh, sure. Okay, I'll read this one. Leonardo da Vinci, that's a good point. Leonardo da Vinci was named Leonardo di Ser Piero da Vinci, which means Leonardo, the son of Messer, or Mr. Pietro from Da Vinci. His father, Messer Pietro, these are hard, Frucino di Antonio da Vinci, was a lawyer. His mother, Caterina, was a servant. When Leonardo was 14, his father was responsible for introducing him to a notable artist. This introduction began Da Vinci's remarkable career. What's the author's main purpose? Absolutely. Explain a story using some historical facts. You got it. Okay, you want to try this one? Thanks.
They realized the rules of the country were unjust. It was necessary for them to break rules in order to bring about change. Foreign products and machines were not delinquent, but they were rule breakers. In their cases, breaking rules was not only important, it was trivial.
Yeah.
Don't dismiss the idea of breaking rules. Instead, consider each rule carefully.
Excellent. So what's the main purpose of this one?
Is it D? Or B?
D. Let me see if they're lining up the same. I think the computer shuffles them after I put it in here, so.
Mine online different online.
Yeah, they're different online, yeah. So, yeah, see, to present an objective discussion of heroes, is that the one that you identified? No, what do you think it is? Would you think B? To demonstrate causes of violence in America?
No.
Yeah, you ran out of time. Yeah. I think it's D. They're trying to persuade you, citing historical examples. Trying to persuade you to consider that not all rules need to be followed if you haven't if they don't have good reasons backing them up. Okay, back to how about Christopher? Are you available to read 19? He might have stepped away.
Absolutely, yes, I.
Okay, thanks.
All right. The poor cam is a camera worn by poor. What is
Yeah,
what is-
porcupines.
Oh,
Do you know what a porcupine
porcupines.
is? Yeah. Does
Uh,
everybody know what a porcupine is?
I
Yeah,
think
okay.
so.
Okay.
Conversationist, right?
Conservationists, like people that work to conserve. Yeah.
Okay. Use this research tool to track the behavior of wildlife. It has given zoologists valuable insight into how porcupines live. Before the porcam, most believed the porcupines could throw their quills at predators. Watching porcam reels, scientists discovered that while quills fell out easily, they were never thrown. The porcam provides never before seen images, which allows for more complete research. What is the author's main purpose? Uh,
It
to
is.
give
I don't know why it says product. I don't think they're products, these animals, but that's funny.
that's
I
what
guess it is. The porcam is a product. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess. I mean, that's definitely the right one. I wasn't thinking about it as the camera. I'm focused on those porcupines. Anybody else here when they were growing up that porcupines threw their quills and could stick them into people?
Yeah, I'm still dealing with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I had heard that. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if that is true and they found out that they haven't, or this is just a made up paragraph. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I heard they throw them out, but that was when I was younger. But I
Yeah,
believed it
me
ever
too.
since.
Yeah.
I think it's true.
You think it's true? I'm gonna have to look it up and come back with some factual information because now I'm pretty curious about porcupines.
Never knew that we were supposed to pronounce opossum.
Oh, yeah, I know. I didn't know that either, that there were two different ones. I thought it was just people's choice, whether they said possum or opossum. Yeah. I guess I'm not up on my Australian animals. All right, last question. Michael, you want to do this one?
When I went upstairs, I couldn't help but think about Christy. It was strange that she knew where I lived. It was totally strange that she wanted my chemistry notes. Who was this girl who was outfitted in a flapper dress and knee boots? What connection did she have to our school, and more specifically, me? What is the author's main purpose?
Yeah.
I don't
What do
know.
you think?
A.
Yeah, narrate a story using suspense. Yeah, excellent. Excellent job. And thank you all for helping me identify some problems in this and figure out how to make it a little smoother for the next time I use it. Great. Okay, so we have two assignments tonight, right? There's a longer writing a persuasive review of a restaurant, a book, movie, something. You can make it positive or negative. The second assignment for tonight is around author's purpose, but this is a pretty short assignment. But I do want to get in here so you can all see it together because there's a video with it. So we're gonna watch the quick video of Rudy Francisco's poem. And you do have a transcription of it if you would like that. And then we're going to answer just a couple questions about his purpose. Thanks very much. So hang on for just another couple minutes. We will watch that video. It's not a super long poem.
Is it an essay we're doing?
It's not an essay. It's just, we're going to just answer these two questions about this poem. What's the author's purpose in this piece? Is it to inform, entertain, or persuade? And then more specifically, you're going to write about what do you think Rudy is trying to communicate about himself? And you're going to use examples from the poem to prove that you are right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So when you say to use the example of the poem, that brings me back to the essay we're gonna write at the GT. Are we allowed to write exactly what?
Absolutely, and you put them in quotes.
Oh, okay.
That's what it
I was
takes.
debating on
Yeah,
that in my head. Does that take
absolutely.
points away?
No, it will add points. In fact, it's really wonderful because you don't have to come up with exact things that you want to say. You kind of make your point and then you use like as he said, and you know, la, 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 and then you just put quotes around it. I know it does not function in the practice test to do it, but during the real test, there is even a cut and paste opportunity. So you don't even have to, if you're grabbing, I mean, you don't want to grab sentence after sentence. You want to grab smaller bits. One sentence at the most, okay? Phrases, even better, but having those examples with quotes around them is going to increase your score. So yes, practice it in this. Grab lines from the poem that support it, put them in quotes. Thank you for asking that question. Pardon me?
There's other side.
Yeah, the other one that you already have. The other one that you already have, yeah. Oh, thanks, Gabe.
I'm 5'6" and a half. I weigh 145 pounds. I don't know how to swim, and I'm a sucker for girls with a nice smile and clean sneakers. I'm still learning how to whisper. I'm often in places where I should be quiet. I'm often quiet in places where I should be loud. I was born feet first, and I've been backwards ever since. I like ginger ale a lot. I've been told that I get really bad hugs. People say that it feels like I'm trying to escape. Sometimes it's because I am. Secretly, I get really nervous every time someone gets close enough to hear me breathe. I have this odd fascination with things like sandcastles and ice sculptures. I assume it's because I usually find myself dedicating time to things that will only last a few moments. That's also why I tend to fall in love with women who will never love me back. I know it sounds crazy, but it's actually much easier than it seems. And to be honest, I think it's safer that way. See, relationships, they often remind me that I'm not great at heights or falling, but I'm scared of what's gonna happen the moment that my body hits the ground. I'm clumsy. Yesterday, I should know my self-esteem. I landed on my pride, and it shot like an iPhone with a broken face. Now I can't even tell who's trying to give me a compliment. I've never been in the military, but I have this purple heart. I got it from beating myself for little things I can't fix. I know it sounds weird, but sometimes I wonder what my bed sheets say about me when I'm not around. I wonder what the curtains would do if they found out about all the things I've done behind their backs. I've got a hamper that's overflowing with really, really loud mistakes in a graveyard in my closet. I'm afraid that if I let you see my skeletons, you'll grind my bones into powder and get high on my phone. Hi, my name is Rudy. I enjoy frozen yogurt, people watching and laughing for absolutely no reason at all, but I don't allow myself to cry as often as I need to. I have solar power confidence. I have a battery operated smile. My hobbies include editing my life story, hiding behind metaphors, and trying to convince my shadow that I'm someone worth following. I don't know much, but I do know this. I know that heaven is full of music. I know God listens to my heartbeat on his iPod. It reminds me that we still have work to do. Thank you.
Thank you. That's my favorite contemporary poet. That was a longer poet. If you're interested, Rudy Francisco. He's just got a ton of great stuff, short things. You can find him on Instagram. Do recommend. But yes, go ahead and look through the text. You've got it both ways. Pick out, what do you think his purpose was? That's kind of a confusing. There's not probably a wrong answer here. You just need to support yourself, just like on the GED essay. Anybody have questions about that assignment? Okay. Yeah, so on the paper, it has the 2 questions along with his poetry. So you are identifying what's his purpose, just generally inform, entertain, persuade, but then specifically you're going to write a paragraph or 2 identifying what you think he's trying to communicate about himself. As I say, there's no wrong answers. You just want to pull things from the poem to support what you choose. Okay. Bye. Have a good night. Oh, thanks.
Thank
Class
you.
over?
Have a good night. We'll see you Wednesday.
Okay, thanks. Have a good night, Chris. Thank
Is
you.
class over?
Yeah, I mean, hang out and do your assignment, but there's no more. It's just assignment time.
All right, I'm gonna go.
Okay. Thank
All right,
you.
thank you, Colleen.
Thanks, Michael. You should stop by class sometime. I'd love to see you.
Yeah, I gotta get enough guts to drive out there. I just started driving, so.
Oh, yeah. I get it. Well, maybe sometime.
Well, yeah, maybe Wednesday I'll try.
Okay.
Oh, do I need a
It's a
parking?
there's a transit station right outside the building, you know?
Yeah, but do I need a parking ticket?
No, you don't have to have a parking pass at all here.
Where is your class located?
It's Willow Creek on
Yeah.
185th.
Oh, you're at Willow Creek?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you guys were at Rock Creek.
No, we're at Willow Creek. Come on
Oh, I
by.
could have been there. I could have been there many a
You could have
time.
been there the whole time. Oh,
Yeah, I
well,
know how to get to Willow Creek. It's easy.
yeah, it's really convenient.
Wait, hold on. Let me write down the class. What room are you in?
Oh, room 205.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Room
I'm glad I mentioned it. I'd love to see you.
205. Okay, yeah, I'll come in. I'll try to come in Wednesday.
Okay, cool.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Have a good night.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.